Hey folks, today I wanted to do one of my discussion videos and we're going to be talking about the hybridization system in Crusader Kings 3. If you don't know what this is, I'll put it up on the screen now. This allows you to merge different cultures, pick up the bonuses from one of them, bring in your Norse ruler as it says, and bring in some local Sri Lankan ways. I don't know a certain content creator who would ever think of doing that. But anyway, this is what it allows you to do. It's very cool. It allows you to pick up some advances, allows you to kind of change how your realm works a little bit, change those cultural pillars, these different things that you can do with it. And this was a great feature in the Royal Court. I think many of us would actually think this was the best feature out of that DLC. I know that's a bit of a slander on the court system, but I do think the cultural meshing and things like that, or even the divergence of them that you can do, is such a great feature. Many of us think it is the best feature from that DLC, I would think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But why I wanted to talk about this is that it is a feature that has been brought up multiple times now in subsequent DLC, and I think it is something that is so important now to many later DLCs that maybe Paradox should have some ideas about how to bring that to more of us if you don't own that previous DLC. So what do I mean by it's come to later DLCs? I'm sure there's many more examples. But you can see on the screen now, this is from the Khans of the Steppe DLC. You have this Kurultai position that really increases cultural hybridizing, as you can see, allowing you to maybe conquer into Europe and then bring in some of those European advances into the steppe and bring those cool additions to your culture or make some cultures elsewhere. It is just a great feature of the Kurultai. And as you can see from the tooltip, this lowers the threshold, so it's easy for you to hybridize into these other cultures. Now, the problem is, if you don't have the Royal Court, this ability has no benefit to you at all. The weird thing is that it still shows for you, even if you don't have the DLC, which is a little bit odd, but that is how it shows in-game. You still get the cultural reformation in the base game that was added, so you can reform your culture. You just can't hybridize it into other cultures. So although I wouldn't say this is a major feature of Khans of the Steppe, it is a very good feature of it, and it is something that really helps you as you progress through your game. And then the next thing that was called out, and I'm sure there's more examples, you can let me know in the comments, but the next one that really caught my eye recently is that in All Under Heaven, they again brought up this hybridization system. You can see on the screen now, this was focused around Korea. You can reform the thrones there, and then this provides bonus acceptance towards hybridizing the cultures and making the Korean culture out of it. So again, this was called out in this dev diary. It didn't say here, look, you need to have an old DLC to actually be able to do this. That would have been kind of nice, I guess. And again, why am I bringing this up in this quick video? Well, I think there's a couple of ways Paradox could help, I think, players with this system. Now, I'm sure you'll all just say, hey, just give us the old DLC for free. Let's be honest, that's never going to happen. And I suppose many of you listening to this video probably have this DLC already. You probably have the Royal Court, but there could be new players coming to the game and they're asking, like, what's your favorite DLC, guys? What kind of DLC should I pick up at the start? And how many of us would say you definitely need to buy the Royal Court DLC? Probably not many of us. It'd probably be Tours and Tournaments, maybe Rise to Power, maybe some of the specific area ones like Iberia, if you do live there or if it's a place you specifically like to play in. Again, there's a bunch of these DLCs we would probably recommend before the Royal Court. So a player could have the base game, pick up a few DLCs, and then not have the access to this system. And to be honest, there's not that many systems, I don't think, that are in a specific DLC that a later DLC specifically again calls out and says you should use in that DLC. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, but I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are some. But this hybridization system, there are a few ways I think that we could solve this problem, and I don't think it would cost Paradox too much money. So of course there is the best way for this to work. If a DLC is what, like 2 or 3 years old, let's say 3 years old, it would then get rolled into the base game. I know with some sales, you could probably almost get that anyway, but I think that would be a cool thing for especially new players. It's a lot of DLC. Yes, I know, Paradox lols DLC in the comments, but you could have it where like 3-4 year old DLC just gets rolled into the base game and then everyone gets that. And then yes, you've still got to buy the later DLC, but how many people are buying that old DLC? Do Paradox really need $3 from the Royal Court? They probably do, so how else could we fix this? Well, secondly, you could have specific features like this hybridization go into the base game, but not the whole DLC. So the Royal Court, how that works, would still stay in the DLC. But one of the more minor features, although again, as I said, probably the major feature most of us use from this or enjoy using anyway, this could get moved into the base game and then leave everything else to be bought afterwards if you want to buy, the court, the artifacts, things like that. and then you could get that later on as well. But I think that would be a good way for it to be solved. You know, Paradox still get their money, but we get this feature into the base game. Well, probably not us again. We've probably all got it, but you know, new players or people that don't want to buy all the DLC would have access to this. And again, it is called out in later DLCs, so it would be cool for them to have that without having to buy an older DLC as well. And then the last one that I thought of is that if a feature is called out specifically for a DLC, you know what, Paradox? Maybe that should be in that DLC as well. This means you're still monetizing the system. You could buy the Royal Court and get it, or if you're buying All Under Heaven, well, you would get it as part of that DLC as well. So you're still getting your money, Paradox, but it is a system that then you would have in that DLC, and you wouldn't have to buy an older DLC just to enjoy it. Because some people are going to come to this game, I would imagine, especially in China, Japan, Southeast Asia, Korea, all these places, maybe you're going to be picking up the game for the first time, or I would imagine Paradox would hope they would be. And then they're saying like, oh, cool, I can make this hybridized Korean culture. Oh, wait, no, I've got to go buy this old DLC. Even though it's called out in the dev diary that I could do this, I can't do that. Why not just have that feature brought into the DLC, and then you're still getting it? Players could enjoy it all. They've still given you money for All Under Heaven, so does it really matter if they get an additional hybridization system that they would have to give you money for anyway? So maybe I would think Paradox might think this is a good idea. Maybe they'll watch this video and think, hey, do you know what? Why don't we do that? We're still getting money. Players are still getting this hybridization system. It would also mean that, you know, they could bring in features that require the hybridization system, and they would know everyone who bought that DLC would have that feature. They have got a little bit away from what they originally said, that all features would be in the base game, and then they would build like the flavor and other things on top of it. I know they've never really kept to that exactly, but if you have been following the game, you've seen that more recently especially, more and more things are going behind the paywall. As we know, unlanded characters, there's a lot of stuff probably in the China DLC that's going to be part of the DLC only. So why not have some of these older features also thrown in there? You know, like a little bonus. It could say at the end of the store page, you know, coming from an older DLC, the hybridization system is also joining this fantastic DLC. You know, and then people would probably see that and say like, hey, that's cool of Paradox, giving us some older features so we don't have to buy the older DLC, and we can enjoy this new DLC to the fullest of what it's supposed to be. But anyway, guys, I don't want to keep you too long. Just another one of these quick discussion videos. I like doing these. I like just talking about the game, and I like seeing all the comments and having a discussion with you down below. So let me know what you think. Do you think we should go this way, or do you think it's fine? You know, just wait for a sale and buy the Royal Court for like $6 or something. Let me know what you think about all this. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I cover all the news around Crusader Kings, all the dev diaries. I do twice weekly live streams as well, where we play through mods, campaigns, achievements, all those kind of things. And I'm also covering Europa Universalis 5 in a very similar manner on the build up to that release as well. So if you enjoy my kind of content, hit that subscribe button. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.